Welcome to the channel. Thanks a lot for joining me. We're going to have a look at Michael Knighton, the man who could have bought Manchester United for just £10 million but walked away. Sickening. On the 19th of August 1989, a 37-year-old man walked onto the Old Trafford pitch before the first game of the new league campaign. Arsenal were the opponents and the stands were packed. The official attendance was 47,245. About 10,000 higher than the previous season's average. In full Manchester United training kit, Michael Knighton juggled the ball skillfully before firing it into an empty goal. He stood in front of the Stretford End, arms open, taking in the adulation. A few weeks before, he would have been a complete unknown. But the previous day, Knighton had announced a £10 million takeover deal that rocked football, in United's words. He was a flamboyant prospective new owner, making an early mark on the club that seemed soon to be his. But nobody was behind him. While supporters lapped it up in the corridors of power, the scheming and plotting was already underway. Knighton's takeover would very soon come tumbling down, and his decision to go out on the pitch seemed to be a catalyst for his demise. What happened next at Old Trafford is a well-known story. Success on and off the pitch during a boom era for football business has seen the club's value rise above £3 billion today. But what happened to Knighton? Scarred by the experience of exiting his dream deal, in the end he became something of a recluse, concentrating on other passions in life, like art. The memories are still vivid though. Here, the man who walked away from buying Manchester United gives his full account of how it all fell through. Knighton built his fortune in property. In the late 1980s, he looked at Manchester United and saw an opportunity. He believed he could turn the club into a £150 million operation, and he was right in thinking Chairman Martin Edwards would be open to his offers. The raison d'etre was very simple, Knighton said. There was a lot of resentment against the board. Edwards was incredibly unpopular and desperate to leave. The business was losing money and home gates had fallen to as low as 18 to 20,000. He saw an untapped business potential in Manchester United's sizable fan base, and he also knew that their support was crucial in getting the club to grow, hence the decision to go onto the pitch. I wanted to show the fans I was a football man first and a businessman second, Knighton says. I wanted to bridge the gap between the boardroom and the terraces. Yet, it was novel. It was unorthodox. I knew it would attract interest and criticism, but I didn't care. I needed the fans on my side more than I needed Bobby Charlton or Alex Ferguson, whose job was on the line at that time. I knew there was a massive captive market. If you were going to exploit that market, not in a pejorative sense, to sell them everything in order to generate the profit to buy any player in the world, you need them on your side. Look at what is happening now with the current owners and how the sponsors are being lobbied and some fans are not buying memorabilia and shirts. Of course I loved it. Who wouldn't? Despite how it all turns out, I don't regret going on the pitch, and if I had £5 billion to buy Man United today, I would do exactly the same. It was fulfilling every schoolboy's dream in the world. If you look at the pictures of that day, the smile of the faces on the fans, it worked. That is Knighton's view. The other side is a very different one. Ridiculous is an assessment from one senior Old Trafford figure from the time as it recalls Knighton's pre-match entertaining. According to this assessment, that was the moment when Edwards realised he had made a mistake. But before the next home match against Norwich, Edwards wrote something in the programme to explain his decision to sell. Read with the benefit of 32 years of hindsight, there are some fascinating bits of details. Edwards pointed out that he was not looking to sell the club, but that what had persuaded him it was the right move was Knighton's offer of capital investment for vital ground improvements. It's not a secret that we have wished to develop the Stretford End for a number of years now, reflects Edwards. The budget of £7.5 million made me realise the commencement of work is light years away. When Mr. Knighton's offer has brought us is the opportunity to develop the stadium as well as the playing staff, and this offer was impossible to refuse. Those words were read by fans on the 30th of August. By that time, the takeover deal was watertight, but Edwards and his associates were looking for a way out. They tried to exploit Knighton's weak point, to wear him down and make him feel the deal was not worth the hassle. Going on the pitch wasn't the United way. It was said behind the scenes. Neither was appearing on talk shows, which Knighton also did. Their efforts ensured that negativity about the deal circulated quickly, and word began to spread that Knighton didn't actually have the money he said he did. No matter the personal view of anyone reading this, one thing is certain, and this is important to Knighton. He did have the money to push through the transaction. Nevertheless, his backers were made to feel wary. A copy of what was known as his blueprint to turn Manchester United into a £150 million operation was left at the house of a newspaper proprietor, Eddie Shah, who knew the United hierarchy and immediately got in touch. Senior figures at the club went to Shah's house in Macclesfield as a matter of urgency to get hold of the documents. Sir Bobby Charlton arrived and apparently had the impressive effect of immediately calming Shah's aggressive dogs with his presence. The documents were supposed to be confidential. More pressure was applied to Knighton to withdraw his bid. He was offered a place on the board if he agreed to walk away from the takeover. Eventually, he agreed. A couple of years ago, on the 30th anniversary of his aborted buyout, a biographical account of his plan was published entitled Visionary. Knighton says he doesn't like the book title, but he does believe that his template laid the foundation for what Manchester United would eventually become. I did an interview with the Financial Times, which was published on the 12th of September 1989. Knighton says, "Everything in the blueprint, I said to that journalist. He was incredibly tolerant of me because he must have thought I was a raving lunatic. I said I was going to turn the club into a £150 million leisure vehicle that would make profits so large it could buy any player in the world. He told me we were turning over a £7 million loss and the club hadn't made money for 20 years and had just announced £1.3 million in losses. I told him it would happen. At that time, hardly anyone thought satellite TV would replace terrestrial. I said it would transform football. It was extraordinary how Martin Edwards had claimed credit for what happened in the following decade after my involvement. Unbelievable. I kept my mouth shut and my head down because my reputation had been harmed and it was virtually impossible to change a public image. But Martin and other people on the board decided to hide behind the fiasco Michael Knighton caused and claim credit themselves. If they could really see what was going to happen, why would they have agreed to sell the club for 10 million? Speaking to someone who was involved at the time, there is a grudging acceptance that a lot of Knighton's blueprint was used to drive revenues long before the Glazier family got involved and took the club to another level entirely from a commercial perspective. But in that case, why, if he was so certain his plan would work and he had the money to proceed, did Knighton back away? I didn't need to own the club to do what I envisaged. I needed to make a contribution. When Martin invited me onto the board, yes, I snapped his hand off financially. I knew what I was giving up, no question about it. Was I right financially to abort the deal? Clearly not. If I was looking to enrich myself and become a billionaire instead of a guy who made a bob or two, I should have completed. Perhaps that was the biggest commercial mistake of my life, but I was never there to enrich myself. That was never my motivation. I don't regret it. BBC Sport have been told Knighton was a quiet presence on the Old Trafford board. His wings, from a club sense, have been well and truly clipped. He remained at Old Trafford until 1992 when he bought Carlisle United, enjoying some initial success before hard times hit. Disenchantment grew and he sold up in 2002. He's never returned to the game. Now 69, Knighton concentrates on other great passion of his life, art. His most famous piece is a 15-foot-high marble sculpture of Jesus Christ that was exhibited at King's College, Cambridge in 2008. I'm a great believer in the value of things from an aesthetic point of view, he says. I'll make a prediction. Michael Knighton will go down as an artist, not a football man. Knighton is engaging to talk to, impossible to dislike. Even through the distance of a telephone call, there is a buzz of energy about him. His greatest goal now, he says, is to create an art and design school for those students who can't afford the university fees. Perhaps some may not judge him for his time in football. Some may consider he lacked the bravery to push through what might have been one of the most lucrative deals in the game's history. But on that day in August '89, he did go onto the Old Trafford pitch, and he was welcomed by the Stretford End. The pictures prove it. I gave Martin my blueprint, and after we aborted the deal, says Knighton, I said, there is a cheque for 150 million. I am not deluded. I know the truth of the matter. I'm a flawed individual, but I know what happened. I probably kept my mouth shut for too long. I'm not the kind of person to shout from the rooftops about how wronged I've been. But it's all history now.